Welcome to episode 1 of Node.js series. My name is Rahul and I'm going to teach you Node.js from basic level to advanced level. Let's begin with our first video and see what's served inside. So let us first understand what is Node.js. So Node.js is basically a JavaScript runtime that is built on Chrome's V8 engine. In simpler terms, before Node.js, JavaScript was only able to run inside the browsers. And in order to run outside the browsers, Google introduced or created a JavaScript runtime that is called as Node.js. So what do I mean by running JavaScript outside browsers? This simply means we can run JavaScript on desktop applications. We can also run JavaScript on mobile applications as well. And also we can create our server using JavaScript. Before understanding how Node.js works, we need to understand what is a server and how it works. So let us consider an example. Here we have a client, which is basically a mobile or web application, and a server or backend server, which is made using Node.js. So here let us consider an example of viewing someone's Instagram story. Here you click on someone's Instagram story, then a request is sent from the mobile application to our server. Then in return, our server will send the data that needs to be displayed on click of this Instagram story. So in simpler terms, a server is a computer program that provides service to another computer program. At client side, which is basically front end, we usually use React.js, AngularJS, and other frameworks. And to create or build server, we usually use Node.js, Java, or Golang. Now let us move towards our next topic, that is single-threaded and multi-threaded server. So a multi-threaded server is basically a server that handles multiple requests at a single time, whereas our single-threaded server will handle one request at a time. And to our surprise, Node.js is single-threaded. But how does Node.js handles multiple requests asynchronously? Let us understand the architecture of Node.js in detail. So before moving further to Node.js architecture, we are going to learn types of requests. There are two types of requests. First one is blocking request and the second one is non-blocking request. So let us understand blocking request with an example. So here is an example where we are telling our computer that first you have to print hi, then you have to read the content of my file and then print done. And we are going to get output as hi, file content and done. So in case of blocking request, reading file content may take longer time to print. So here our program will wait till the file contents are ready, and after the file contents are ready, it's going to print file content and then it's going to print done. But in case of a non-blocking request, we are going to first print hi, then it's going to print done, and as soon as the file contents are ready or available, the file contents are then printed in our output. So basically the reading of file content is done in background, and that's what is non-blocking request. And now finally we are going to understand how Node.js works or Node.js architecture works. So whenever a client requests something to our Node.js server, our request is added to our call stack, and basically here it checks if the request is blocking or non-blocking. And if the request is blocking, that we seen in our first example, then it's executed here itself by creating a execution context, and the output is then returned to a client. But in case of a non-blocking request, that is asynchronous request, our request is first added to our worker process where the request get executed, and after getting executed, our request is added to our event queue. And here comes in picture our event loop, which continuously checks if the call stack is empty or not. And as soon as the call stack is empty, our request from our event queue is added to our call stack, and then it is served to client. And this is how our non-blocking architecture works. Now let us understand with an example how Node.js architecture works. So let us consider we have three requests. So our first request is an blocking request, second request is a non-blocking request, and third request again is a blocking request. So first, our requests are going to be stacked in our call stack. So here we are going to add our all requests in our call stack, and call stack will check if the request is blocking or non-blocking. And as soon as it encounters that it's an blocking request, it will create an execution context and it will get executed, and the output will be returned to client, and we are going to first get blocking request resolved. And again, our call stack will encounter that second request is a non-blocking request. So as soon as it encounters that request is non-blocking, it's added to the worker process. Now it's time for the third request, that is blocking request. So it will again create an execution context for our third request, and the output is then returned to client, and our request 1 and request 3 will get resolved and returned to client. And now it's time for our request 2, which is a non-blocking request and added to a worker process. So here it will get executed, and after getting executed, this non-blocking request is then added to our event queue. Here our event loop checks if the call stack is empty or not, and as soon as it gets an empty place for our request, then our non-blocking request is added to call stack, and then it's returned to a client, and we'll get output as request 1, request 3, and request 2. And that's it for this week, and our next video is will be released in next week. Until that, you can subscribe or follow me on Instagram, for which I have provided a link in my description to stay updated. If you like my video, please do comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching the video.